Hi everyone, how are we all? I just wanted to touch base with you guys. I've had a few questions lately, and a lot of people have been purging, and I wanted to have a very brief, quick talk to you guys about how to deal with the Ascension symptoms and how to actually cope with the heavy energy. Now, probably in 2018 when I was experiencing heavy purging, which you can see I've been purging, I pretty much move through that energy fairly quickly. Now, it does come across, hey Giggle, it does come across like a psychic attack. Now, pretty much when people are awakening, especially feminines or masculines deal with their energy differently. They probably drink, don't talk, do the norm. When a female goes through this, because you're an empath, it's like you sort of feel the energy waving over you, and it's extremely heavy. And it does make sense because we're in the Aries energy, quite frankly, and it's the first house placement of Chiron. So it's almost like you spiritually are moving into being a psychic medium, and that's probably the bluntest way I can explain it. Now, to deal with that, there are a few things you can do. You are spiritually training yourself to cope with the energy. Similar to a psychic medium that suddenly has become a psychic medium, and it's like, why are these energies here? How do I deal with it? I used to get it coming over me out of nowhere, and it would be insanely difficult, and it would just be like a huge wave, and it felt like a very dark cloud, and it would be like anxiety ridden, whereas I had nothing 5 seconds before. And I was like, wow, is this my energy? It did not matter whose energy it bloody was. Let me put it that way. I wanted it out. I wanted it controlled. I wanted it grounded. And I was like, I just want this energy off me. I want to get back to my anchored, meditated state. I had really done a lot of self-managing, and it was like, right, this has come out of nowhere, and I need to sort this BS out. So it was breathing exercises, and I ended up doing breathing exercise, and it almost felt like you had a demonic attachment to you. So you need to breathe it in like it's there, right? Because it physically is. And it's pushing it out of you like it doesn't belong. It's expelling it. So it's like, and blowing it out. Get it out, and then shift your energy completely onto something else. Now, I have been experiencing dreams lately. And we are very much in between at the moment. So with the trigger points of Aries and Chiron, around May, we're moving into the moon in Scorpio, which will be, between April and May. Get ready, because we did have that energy of, very heavy Pisces, very heavy Scorpio energy, and you're diving deep, and it depends on the other aspects, which I know it's going to be deep. So get prepared, especially what's coming in the collective. So those of you that have been actually having Ascension symptoms and waking up quite quickly, which I can guarantee you are, I had a lot of that going on probably, again, I will say in 2017, 18 now, especially for twins. I haven't been talking to you guys about a lot of what does happen in twin flame union. And, for your sakes, I really need to be starting to talk about that, because you guys all need to be prepared. It is not a walk in the park. It is a lot of trigger points, and you do have to do a lot of work. But for you guys individually, from the perspective of astrology, and because we had a lot of 12th house in February and March, we are having the grand awakening of the planet. So you're going to need to learn that when these energies come in out of nowhere, you can't utilize the crap that we have in society. And I'm sorry, I've been developing these skills for friggin' years, and it's a taboo subject. But, no amount of books, and it's all been self-trained and through direct experience. Flus come and go where they're 4 weeks. They're 2 to 4 weeks. In the old days, it would be 2 weeks. Ascension symptoms will come down to very sharp energies. They can be of trigger points. They can be of aches and pains, of a purge in an area, and then it goes, and it's very quickly. It's in and out like hello. It's a bit like a one night stand, quite frankly. It's there and it's gone. And I'm just saying, it's like one of those shady energies. It's not nice. So you just know, and it can't be taught really. You can't get that information from a doctor. They'd look at you like you were batshit crazy, quite frankly. But a lot of the population is going to go through this. So these are things that when I do tell you, they have come from direct experience. They haven't been to come on YouTube and bloody, sell videos and crap. They've been for the sanity of my health, that I've actually lived through it. When my psychic development came about when I would say more so when I was about 6, and I directly had it when I was born. I kept it very secret because of the taboo nature of it. Now, my mother was a Christian, my father was Muslim, and it was no energy either side of the fence was very, you have to be this. But it was a very spiritual home, not from a perspective of, how would I put it? You've got to be this or you've got to be that. But there were ethics and morals there. So certain things in society just weren't talked about. So I really did a lot of shadow work, and I had to work out what was going on. And that's quite concerning, as a child. We're in a more open society these days. But for me, I kept that secret, probably all the way into about the age of about 25. I'd kept it directly separate and secret. And I would deal with these spiritual attacks and how to manage the energies coming. And I know when the movie came out, The Sixth Sense, I burst into tears because it was what I was actually dealing with. From a perspective of growing into a psychic medium. Now, I hate to break it to you, but a lot of you right now, what you're moving into is that. So your development is going to be painful. Your development is going to be kind of eye-opening. Sometimes you're going to think you're batshit crazy. Some of the things you see won't make sense. They just simply won't make sense, and you will feel you are going crazy. I have seen things. I directly have memories from when I was first born, and I was trying to ask Mark to give me a hand with technology because he's really good at technology. And, I'm not allowed to smoke on YouTube, but, we're in a pandemic, doesn't really matter. Anyway, so I was saying to Mark I wanted to do a video to give it an explanation as to what I saw before I was born, and I'm still working on that. So I'm trying to work on that behind the scenes, and he's doing training as well, and I've got friends that, do energy work where they can actually take you back. They can get you into a deep meditative state, which I have offered myself as a guinea pig, that, to remove the ego so you can physically witness it, that I'm not pissing in your pocket, that these things actually have happened to me, that I can be interviewed and actually have that session happen. And I will place it live. I won't even bother, recording it or anything to that degree, because many of the things that I had occur, I'm sure there's hundreds of people that have had it, so I'm not afraid of it being, you're going to judge me. I really don't care, because I know it's true and I know it's what's happened. I lived a very normal life growing up. I had Christian mother, Muslim father, very religious grandmother. They lived. My grandmother lived with us as well, and we lived in New Zealand up until the age of 9. Both parents worked full-time jobs, which was quite odd during that era. I'm 43 now. But both energies were working. Now, around the age of 6, I started having energies come to the house. And at first, it was my sixth sense. I always knew something was coming. I had a fascination with graveyards. For the life of me, I don't know why. And I also had a situation where I've had out-of-body experiences. I've had what you could call an ET experience, where I've actually been taken from my home, and that's been anywhere between the age of, I would say, probably 5 and all the way up into my 30s, where I've had that. So yeah, I'll go into videos about that, but I didn't talk about it all that much. And also, obviously, twin flame journey. Regardless of such, the one thing I have understood as being a psychic medium is I have seen some freaky fucking shit. I have really seen some freaky shit. I tend to see energies in layman's terms of orbs. I also have seen them in full form. Sometimes I'll be driving down the freeway, and of course, because I see them in all shapes and forms, it's like sometimes you actually need to double check that what you're seeing isn't a physical person. And of course, sometimes when a person has actually passed over, if there's been an accident and I'm on the highway, I'll see them in full form and they don't know they've passed. So they're standing there in full form. And then the problem is being a psychic medium, and ask any psychic medium on YouTube, if the soul knows you can see them, you then are their messenger and they're going to hunt you down. They're going to be like, right, we've got a job for you because we have unfinished business on this earth realm and we want you to communicate with our loved ones. And sometimes they don't even know they're still here. They don't grasp the concept because their spirit had unfinished business. So they remain until they can resolve that, and sometimes it does need energies and mediums to actually help them grasp the fact that, in fact, no, they have actually passed and they need to transition over. Definitely for those of you that do have loved ones that, do have your loved ones in urns and things to that degree, you will get a nagging sensation with the energy when the soul feels that you no longer need them. I had an experience when I was about 27, and my partner at the time, I had a child visit the side of my bed. And those of you that experience the 3 a.m. wake up part of being a psychic medium, so you tend to find if you're waking up at that hour, check the temperature of the room. The temperature of the room will start changing. Sometimes your eyes will be playing kind of games with you and you will see shadows moving up and around the room. They're actually called shadow people. There's also the jinn, and the jinn is directly connected to a spiritual gift of those of you that are psychics. And it's almost like a hand-me-down gift. It's like the benefit of being a psychic. It's like, right, you're a psychic and you come from a psychic family. And I lived in a village which we called it Kalibruno. And it's in Cyprus. It's on the Turkish side, right? So I grew up in New Zealand, in Auckland, New Zealand. So shout out to all of you beautiful Kiwis over there. I'm deeply multicultural. So mess with any culture and I'll really get pissed because I'm multicultural. I love the Kiwis, I love the Maoris, I love Aboriginal people, and I love culture. I had a multicultural mother and father, and I just believe racism is bullshit. Because I come from a multicultural family, so maybe that's ego, but it's just the way I am. And when it comes to religion, it's all beautiful. It all comes from ethics and morals, and it's integrity. So, again, it does not affect me. It's the way I was being raised. Anyway, so I don't know, where was I at? See, this is what happens, typical Libran style. Get off one subject onto a bloody another. So anyway, there was this energy near the side of the bed. And as I said, I was about 27. And I woke up at about 3 in the morning. And I do recall as a child would have these experiences. And I happened to wake up and I was thinking, oh shit, it's hair. You'll always feel this overwhelming fear coming over you like, it's happening again. And you'll find that it's almost like, in those movies where you press the stop button and the room temperature changes, it drops a notch in temperature, but it's weird. It's almost like the air in the bedroom will freeze. And it's not like we can see oxygen. So, it's like, how can that happen, right? So there's a blue hue that will occur. Not always, but many times, depending on the energy that's in the room. When you wake up at that time, any other human being that's in that room will not wake because they're not awoken spiritually. So I happened to wake up and I knew, without looking, my vibration, my auric field knew there was an energy in the room. And I looked to the left, and standing over my ex at the time was a child in full form, and he had a hat very similar to those that in World War I were, the fighter pilots would wear the hat. And he looked at me, and his face was blue, and he was looking down. His face it was almost like this. It was quite frightening, really. So my partner's head was like this, and he was right over my partner's face. And once he acknowledged the fact that I was there, he looked at me, and I was like, 3 o'clock in the morning, energy be in the room. And because of the routine I had as a psychic medium, I knew he's like, oh, you're a psychic medium. I've got work for you. And I thought, this energy's not going to leave me alone, is going to haunt me. I'm sorry, these are the deals. If you're a psychic medium and you see energies, healthy boundaries, right? So if you see something that you're not dealing with, you need to, very similar to energy that comes in with twin flame journey and things to that degree, any energy, it can be you're around a karmic and you feel the vibration, you need to push it out. If you see a spirit and it makes you feel uncomfortable, you need to push it out and you need to create that auric energy of no. So I actually was like, oh, hell to the no. No, I'm not interested. Next morning, and I mean, he was adamant, and I looked at him and I thought, who is this kid? This kid looks like him. I've never seen this child before in my life. I don't know this child. So the next day, I talked to my partner at the time, and I said to him, right, you need to get your dad on the phone. I've got to talk to your dad. This kid directly is related. I know this kid's related. I ended up getting to the point where I actually physically called my partner's father, and I was not close to the man, and it was because I knew what was going to happen. And sure enough, I contacted him. And I said, do you know who this child is? He was about the age of 12. He's got this hat on, and it looks like, you know, the astronauts' hats, the ones, the fighter planes. He was about 12, and he would have passed. This is what he looked like. He looked like such and such child in the family. And he happened to say to me, he said, yes, actually, it was my nephew. And I was like, okay. And I was very early on in the piece in the family. And I said, well, this child's energy has come to me. And the family had all known I was psychic. Didn't think of it for 2 weeks. By the time I went to a barbecue, it was a family barbecue, went to the barbecue, and I was looking after my daughter at the time, and she started choking on something, and I was very focused on her, you know, got her grounded and, you know, sorted it out, and a lady tapped me on the shoulder, and she said to me, I believe you've seen my son. I was thinking, I beg your pardon, I don't know you from a bar of soap. Now, this person's mother that passed actually was not living in Australia. She was in England the 2 weeks prior that I had seen her child. And she happened to coincide with the time. So the child actually synchronistically connecting in with me had made contact because his mother was coming to Australia. And she happened to be there. And I've talked to her 3 times. And most recently, I've understood, probably in the last 2 years, I've understood what the message was. And she said to me, I believe you've seen my son. I said, yes, I have. And I explained. And I said, look, he's very happy. You know, I think he wanted to be like a pilot. And I wasn't grasping what he was trying to say to me. And that's the problem with being a psychic. You've got to learn the way your guides talk to you. You've also got to learn, you know, the synchronistic images of what you see. They're very cryptic. It's very similar to Nostradamus. You have to train yourself to be that energy. It doesn't always make sense to you. And years later, I understood because it was very repetitious. The child would come to me. And I think in the last 3 years, I actually realised why he had showed me that very cryptic message. And it was because he was actually cremated. So what he was saying to his mother is, I'm at peace now, Mum. I want to go. You need to let me go. And so this morning, I was talking to Mark, and many of you might have felt a very heavy energy. Now, spiritually speaking, crows are very symbolic to me, but I don't connect them the same as what many people do, because crows in layman's terms can mean death in the other world. Crows don't mean the same for me because they are one of my animal spiritual totems. Also eagles as well, but I do have many. I've got certain ones that will directly connect to me, you know, for various reasons. Now, the thing is, this morning I actually saw an excess of crows, and I did actually feel, obviously with all the Pisces energy that we have had in February and March, that there would be a very large amount of souls transcending over, and really there is in the collective. So the heart chakra clearing and the energy that you guys will be feeling, the realm is extremely thin. So the haunting aspect of things is going to be profound. Emotionally and mentally, because we had the new moon in Aries and we directly had the energy coming through with us needing to, regardless of our pain body experience, and it's really come up with my daughter in the last few days. So those of you that are in hermit mode, you know, and you have been going through your ascension and you are a twin flame and you're a healer, you're really going to have to be transferring that energy over to your children right now and people around you, and you're helping them actually understand a lot of what you've learned in maybe 20, 30 years. The healing that we have, nobody can actually take that out of us. And that's one of the most profound lessons to learn, is that you are the solution. And that's very hard. Thanks, Sentinel. To get to a very humble place and realize that some of the wounds that you have are so freaking large that, how do you place it? They're going to live inside you. They're part of your story. They're part of who you are. And to come to a very peaceful place where you can actually acknowledge the fact that they're there, and then say, I need to do something about this and make peace with it because it's part of you, It's almost like saying get it out of you, but it's part of your story. It's not necessarily that you would have liked to have had those wounds regardless, but they're an aspect of who you are, and why would you want you to be nothing? So it's almost like you're actually not only physically making peace with the wound of who it was that made that, but it's actually how it's directly transcended and transformed you. And that is part of who you are, and it's part of your story. And, a lot of things that I've lived through now, like I'm 43, I'm saying, wow, what a bonus I lived that. I mean, I was in a third world country, eating very humble pie, going from having a flushing toilet, central heating, air conditioned, beautiful large house, abundance galore, to wearing gumboots, having a hole in the floor for a toilet, and I mean an open chair with cutting a hole out of it, washing out of a bucket, cold water for 3 years. I had 2 siblings that were 14 to 12 years younger than me, and I would hand wash nappies, and I'm 43. How many of us that have children have not had hand washed nappies? I mean, one time we actually washed them. We hadn't had a washing machine by that stage, and it wasn't that we were broke by any means. We had a house in Australia and we rented it. But we actually were washing these things by hand, and because we didn't have the machine that would actually wring the washing out, we had worked so hard, and a lot of us at the moment are going to get eczema through our excess washing of hands, and that was another thing I wanted to talk to you about, all the years of nursing. Anyway, I'll get to the hands. Let's get back to the nappies. It would have been 50 to 100 nappies. Now, when you hand wring them, I'm telling you, there's a hell of a lot of water in that. That machine, you bless that machine you have. It's doing a lot of work for you. Half of the things we complain about, that we have so much to do. Trust me, if you're working on a farm and you were making jams, breads, yogurts, cheese, if you were doing all of that from scratch, and having to wash with cold water, and having to wash your clothes by hand, and having to look after animals, what we live is basic. We live a very humbled experience. So this notion that some of us are getting paranoid, we're going to jump off the grid and we're going to go on to farming life. It took me 3 years to be broken and like a horse to handle that, because I had a very beautiful life. Flushing toilet's a beautiful life. You hail that toilet. They're things we shade the government on, but they're things that we've actually created in society to make our life a luxury, and they are a luxury. So what you think of nail polish and your hair dye and your makeup as a luxury, when you really break it down to simplistics, trust me, there are other things that you will worship, and they're a washing machine. It's power, it's lighting, it's comfort. It's the essential needs that we have that are our blessings. Modern man had matches, not. These are things we need to look at. Dinner rolls. We would make bread in the village, and yes, the reason I have this maybe is to share it with you guys, but it's made me grasp the concept of, to provide for yourself, how much energy goes into that. So in the village that I lived in, which was a very small community, we would never let the elderly go without. How many of us can say that we do that? I mean, but it's not because we're horrible humans. It's because we're spread out societies now. So this change has already happened, but we haven't moved to that point where we're in acceptance of it. Some of us are trying to care for our parents, but they live in a different suburb, or they live in the city and we live in the country, vice versa. So all of these things we're looking at are modern day, situations. So I happen to have the blessing that my father decided he wanted us to have a relationship with our grandmother and our aunties and uncles. And so when I went over there, I didn't know them from a bar of soap, but in the 3 years I lived with them, it was better than schooling. I would walk along the roadside with my grandmother. I thought she was absolutely batshit crazy at first, but I loved her and adored her because she'd be picking weeds off the road. She was almost like a Chinese medicine lady, and I was like, wow, man, I'm in awe of you. And I'd got stung by some nettles, and she goes, come here. And she said to me, I speak Turkish as well, and I was self-taught over there because of the need and the desire to communicate because I'm a Libra. And she said to me, buraya gel gorimo. Yardım edeyim sana, which means come here, my love, let me help you. And I'd stung myself with these bloody nettles. And she pulled this cactus plant off the side of the road and she rubbed it on me. And I was like, what the heck did she do? And it took them out. She showed me medicinal things. It was naturopathy. It was organic vegetables. Her garden looked like a beautiful garden, but everything was edible in there. I mean, and still to this day, I'm still learning. She'd pick things and she'd show me to peel them, to make them. She'd make soups. We did everything from raising sheep, raising goats. Goats no good for society, guys. They eat bloody everything. And they actually ruin foundations. So they're technically a pest, but they're. But predominantly that meat that we had, we didn't eat it. Because it was so expensive, it was their asset and it was their bread and butter. So they would breed it. And during a holy season, we would say a prayer and we would sacrifice it of gratefulness for that meat. And we would maybe have meat maybe once every 3 months. And it was like on a holy season, similar to Easter, similar to Christmas. And you would worship that and you would have gratitude for it. We would do fasting as well, but the fasting was from the aspect of, having that humble experience and going, wow, we're not the only victims in society. We actually are the grateful ones. We're the lucky ones, and we will actually cleanse ourselves, which is part of what we do these days. We tend to notice when we're very clogged. And your body does need that detox. So you go through a detox process. Hi, doll. So, in those things, there was a lot of spiritual understanding. And they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So, of course, there were spiritual things I would learn through the culture. There was the food energy. And it's a bit like Julia Roberts. Eat, pray, love. She went out in life and she ate food. I mean, we would work so hard. You could eat anything. You didn't gain weight. But everything we had, we made from scratch. And the fruit was sweet. The vegetables taste like vegetables. You taste tomatoes in the supermarket. After I come back from Europe and I had a tomato, I felt like I was eating water. So, there's beauty in if you can grow your own vegetables. There is nothing wrong with that. It's healthy. You can't micromanage your biology in your body, okay? We already, from our DNA, from our ancestors, we've got pathogens in it. It's part of our makeup now. It's part of our makeup. Yes, we can eat healthier and we can move and turn over a new leaf, but it takes time. But it's also, I've had clients where I've done caring, for instance, and there was, we had structures and ways in which we would do things, and there were quality systems and there were health systems we would do. And getting back to the hands before I forget it, when you're washing your hands, if they're getting very dry, because I have worked in nursing homes and hospitals for 25 years, when you're having the pump of soap, when you're washing your hands, in between, you can do a pump of sorbeline cream. That will actually moisturize your hands, because the reality is, with the amount that psychologically we're washing our hands because we're paranoid, which is not healthy, might I add, because you naturally do have a fauna on your hands to protect you. The pathogen of what's going on, the virus of what's going on, that's the least of your problems. You start getting cuts and grazes. I mean, you can get golden staph at a hospital, for God's sakes. If it's there, it's there. There's a balance. There's an ecosystem for your body. The alcohol wash that we are using right now, ironically enough, potentially about 5 years ago, I'll tell you, I found an article in the newspaper. Again, I will say for YouTube, I'm not a doctor. I'm not by any means a professional. I'm stating something I have observed. Now, there was an article, and I took it to the nursing staff, and I said to them, I said, look, they've actually banned it in England, because what tends to happen is it's alcohol. Now, naturally speaking, we have natural organisms on our hands, and they do protect us. When you are washing too much of that down, it breaks your immunity away. And it also breaks down the integrity of your skin. So the alcohol wash, theoretically, is like dipping your hands in. I mean, in the old days, they used to use petrol to get rid of lice. And the elderly would actually say to me, they would put bleach in the bath to get rid of body lice. So they're things that we used to do that we're looking at now, and we're going organic, you know. So it's not to say they were right, but I'm giving you an example. If you want to look after the integrity of your hands, you can do, in between washing your hands, you can do 1 pump of soap, 2 pumps of sorbeline cream, and during that process you can wash it and it will coat your hands. And then towel dry in between. And don't forget on top. I'm just saying, because already my hands are getting that, and you'll get the dryness. You can use, you know, oils like Vaseline and things like that to coat them at night time before you go to bed, because you're going to break down the integrity of your hands. So anyway, lots of things from a spiritual nature you guys are going to start feeling. So you will find that because we're developing our spiritual gift right now, a lot of things, as I've been mentioning since I started the live 32 minutes ago. What do you want, kitty cat? You're going to be a YouTube star. They've served a purpose. You're seeing the light and the dark in it. It's going to serve a purpose. You can share it with someone one day. You don't know why in the initial stages. I mean, farming became an aspect of me. So it was for meditation. It's also for the flavour of the food. It's also because I've got experience with it. Living on a farm, we would cook bread together. And it would be a group of women would come together once a month, and we would make bread for the families in the village. And there would have been about 100 families in the village, and we would share that bread. And no elderly person went without bread. And it would take us the whole day. And the loaves were this big, but they were sourdough. So the sourdough, when it's made, it actually lasts longer. But the preservatives that we hold inside the bread these days, within 24 hours, the moisture gets in it, it's gone. So there's beauty in natural produce. And not even the bread makers can make it like that. You know, you get into the grit of making it organically, and it's wholesome food. It's very hearty food. But because of the way we work in society these days, we don't need all the food. So we tend to find we have obesity rates. Because the styles of jobs we're doing now, our bodies weren't made for that. Our bodies were meant for labour and work, hunter-gatherer energy, and we've moved into technology. So naturally, then gyms come about, and it does mean a modification of diet. Spiritually speaking, I've also found that when I have had spiritual blockages, you can exercise 3 hours a day. If you have a spiritual blockage, your weight's not going to move. It is psychological. You'd be surprised how much the psychological mind has involved with it. And I can speak from experience because I've done it 3 times. I've lost 43 kilos 3 times. A lot of it was psychological. Inner child wounds, belief systems, conditioning. I had, at one stage, I was eating quite vegan, very healthy, balanced meals, and I was exercising 3 hours a day, like an MF, and it was not budging. I had spiritual blockages. By the time the energy started shifting, and that probably started around 2012, but before I'd even lost that So 3 times in my life, both before I had my child and after, and I have managed to, probably in 15 years now, maintain that weight at this level. But you wouldn't have recognised me if I'd come on YouTube, because I was literally a size 26. And it was all from spiritual blockages. You know, so you'd be so surprised at how much the spiritual energy of what you're moving right now in astrology. 2017 and 18 was hell. You know, for people going through energies, those of you that were feeling that vibration, it was hell. And not one YouTuber, not one astrologer is going to want to come to you and tell you that, you know, oh, guess what? The next year's going to be crap. No, we don't want to. We're here to guide you. We're here to tell you the honest truth. You know, moving into the age of Aquarius, we have been for 13 to 15 years moving through Pluto in Capricorn. Collectively, that's 4th house, physical foundation. Go get your trainer wheels on. Are you enjoying it? Oh, you don't? Okay, let's rip it away from you. Let's change it again. Try to create that paradigm of what a beautiful relationship is, only to feel sabotaged by it. Now, for me, spiritually, I do truly believe, similar to a nodal return, I do feel a lot of us collectively have already learned that karmic lesson. So I already feel we know. And we're moving into the age of Aquarius, and we're already in that. So we're already getting that frequency. Part of the concern is, you know, and each astrologer will have a different perspective of it. Saturn in Aquarius is to do with the wider group. We've had Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn in Capricorn is about the government systems of the way they had been run. Yes, we can criticise them, but no, we can't, because we all give each other power. We gave them that right. And it is where it is right now. And it is necessary, because if you don't listen to some of the batshit comments on YouTube, and you do look at some of the comments when government officials are communicating, we may think that some of the presidencies, the managers, and the things that are looking after us aren't so great. But read some of the comments. Potentially we're in better hands than we actually could have been. There are a lot of crazy people out there. It's a reality, but it's not that they're bad people. It's that they have not done spiritual work on themselves. Yeah, it is very common, Tammy. It's very common with spiritual awakening, because you're purging. And again, all the weight, you know, you tend to get the weight down the lower region. It's all to do with your power, your enabling, your codependency, your creativity, your lack of faith that you can actually be that, you know, power. And we had the new moon in Aries, which is a masculine side of ourselves. But it's also Chiron energy. It's deal with your wound. And look, I mean, I've been on this path for 20-something years. And really, when you look at it, being a twin flame is about being a soul being that is an old soul that has been here before. Let's just cut twin flame tag out for a minute. You are an old soul training to be a medium. You are going through an awakening. You have a soul person to be with. That aside, you are a soul being that is going to be very, very psychic. You're going to be a light worker in any shape. Doesn't matter what area you're in. You don't have to be a YouTuber to be me. You don't have to be a YouTuber to be who you are and what your light work energy is. Because the direct people you will attract in your life, you're there to upgrade them. You're there to help them. You're there to make them look at you and go, wow, you're crazy. And then after go, wow, I kind of understand what you've gone through. You will be the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we're all human, but we need to be those energies, because how do we grasp the other person's side of the fence if we don't do that, right? So there will be times you'll feel in your own life you'll be the most shady person and you'll be disgusted and repulsed by yourself. Then there's other times you'll look at people and you'll think they're that too, and how dare they do that to you? But you've been in that shadow. We've all been in that shadow. We're not perfect. And it'll be some shape or form to gain perspective. Perspective's a bitch, really. Do we have any questions? But you're really training, you know, to tap into your energy. And the reason you tend to see the numbers is because you're upgrading. You're looking outside of yourself. You're awakening. So you will see, it's almost like you're praying to God and you're like, show me, I don't know, am I doing something wrong? You know, and it can be, is this person coming back? But it's so much more than that. It's everything. It's just, you get to that crossroad, and this is where it ushers it back in, because everything doesn't make sense to you anymore and you just want a sign. And so all these signs come toppling through, and somehow you feel that one person, because you do have a spiritual, you've got a spiritual connection with them, but you also have a it's like they're there as your guide as well. You're both there as each other's trigger and each other's guide, but it's part of your journey. Each person that enters in, it can be soulmate, it can be karmic. You know, don't shade anything energy. It's all meant to be, all of it. It's like you've written a book before you got here and you're meant to read it. I mean, I was talking to Luciana this morning, and she was laughing at some of the things I told her, and she goes, Yildiz, honestly, you should really write a book. And I was like, if I was to write a book, which I'm going to, the book wouldn't make sense. It would seem like multiple energies, because you can't make some of the things up that I've been through. It just doesn't make sense. I was such a boring person. Like, how could all these, even my partners at times, I've had to look at them and go, I'm so fucking sorry. Because it's almost like poor little, not even poor little old me. It's like, for the amount of simplistic energy I am, I attract some really interesting stories, and they're really out there. I can't even make it up. And I'm thinking, I'm really basic. Like, how does this shit happen? Ask Eagle. Ask Mark. He'll tell you. They're like, really, Yildiz? Luciana, Jen, they all know. You can't make it up. It's ridiculous. Some of the most bizarre situations. And now I've lost things. It's just not cricket, I tell you. Any questions? So your ascension is going to be hell right now. You need to learn how to utilize your spiritual gifts, guys. It's going to come in ebbs and flows. You're going to need to breathe the energy out. You'll see the numbers initially, because the numbers are directly linked to your awakening. Through that, once you stop, you'll get irritated. And I know Sulla mentioned to me she wanted a restraining order on numbers, and around that time I wanted that too. You then get to the point you purge it, because you don't want it anymore, because you're really going inside and you're quite content with your downloads and how you feel about life. And then after that, you'll almost feel a bit scared because you don't see them anymore, and you're like, is there something wrong with me? Have I healed? Why am I not seeing these? Certain times you will see more of the other side, and when I say the other side, it can be transcended souls, it can be orbs, it can be things from the corner of your eye, your peripheral. You can be astro traveling in your dream sense. And you know, when we talk about astro traveling, I thought it was quite funny, because as a child, when I was trying to research, it's almost like as a person I thought you'd jump up and you'd fly. It tends to happen, it happens two ways. One, when you're sleeping. You'll know the difference though. The dream is very different. The other, it will be to tap into a person when you're reading them. You need to get into a very comfortable state. This is what I'll tell you. It's like having a normal conversation. Get very relaxed. Do not get paranoid about what the person will think. If the statement you make of what you're seeing doesn't make sense right away, it will nag at you. And it'll be like, repeat the question. So, for instance, you may see an elephant. And this is what a person who was helping me understand my gift said. He moved me around a room, and he plonked me in the middle of a room, and he said to me, Yildiz, you're psychic. And I said, yeah, I know, but when people would test me, it would trigger me. And he said, I want you to go around the room to every person, and I want you to think of the first thing that pops to your mind and just say it. And I did my first lap. And he said to me, no, you're thinking. And I went, I beg your pardon. And he says, first thing, remove your ego. It doesn't. And I said, but it doesn't make sense. He goes, it's not your reading. It doesn't have to make sense to you. And that's the hardest fact. You have to get to the point where you don't care if you look stupid, because the message that's coming through is not you. You are the messenger. You are not you need to remove your ego. So if you are having issues with your ego, then you're going to struggle with developing that gift. But if you're able to look like a freaking idiot, and you can say the first thing, and your brain will keep telling you, it will be like, no, be persistent with this. I had a client the other day, and I mentioned a sister, and she's probably watching now. And we had a session a few times. I went, no, this keeps coming through. They're adamant. Your guides keep coming through here. We ended up breaking it down to who this person was. But again, you've got to remember, if the person we're tuning into believes or looks at that human being as a sister, it doesn't have to be a DNA sister. A lot of times, souls that don't know that they've transitioned over, sometimes you will be able to interpret whether they have passed over. Other times when you tune into them, it will feel like they're here because they egoically believe they have not passed over. So again, it's training your brain to be able to decode those energies. It's deciphering between the two energies. So you have to explain and articulate it that way. But you learn as you go. Any questions about the energy of what's going on? Now, do remember another thing. Jupiter, at the moment, masculines are going through their Phoenix rising. When the nodes move in May, it is deemed as the masculine really having a huge 360. Now, that started in January. So a lot of, and this is in our career, this is also the masculines energetically, but this is their self-discovery. So if you feel detached or that they're a bit strange at the moment, they're going through this mental metamorphosis of understanding what all of these energies are right now. Don't take it personal because the communication is coming in. Be grateful you got your holiday right now because it's work when you get back in. I had a talk to a lady on Instagram today, and she is in reunion with her twin, and she has been for a while. And you know, it made me realise, you know, it's ego to feel that some of you on YouTube aren't in reunion. And I can directly relate. You know, it is a lot of hard work and a lot of bloody triggers when you are back in, because all that crap that you worked on separate, you're refacing that. So it's not a walk in the park. And that's why we say in Twin Flame Path, you must make union with self. You be at peace with yourself and you be content and you love yourself. So you're not going to put up with BS. But you're also going to get to the point that you will experience different things and you'll understand they're human too. And you'll also understand that anything that triggered you in your childhood, in other relationships and lack of relationships, whatever it was, with them, betrayals, etc., if you haven't made at least 80% of peace with it, you're going to be going up ship creek without a paddle. You best be making peace with it because it doesn't define you. You're wanting the new story, right? You've got to put that crap to bed. You won't completely. It's always going to be there. I'm not saying that. But the integration of making peace with each other, what you're doing right now is preparing for that so that you're open to give the new energy the best start it can be. If you're going in there like you're devil's advocate and you're going in to do a hexen beast on them, you're wasting your bloody time. It won't come in because you're not in alignment. Hey, Dale. So, you know, making complete peace with that and going, this wound does not define me. I will survive. I will rise like Katy Perry. I will always rise another day, and I won't, because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and you hate to break it to yourself, but you know it's bloody true. Because you have to keep going. It is what it is. I've been on the floor before, crying. I've had to pull a magic trick out of me to try and get career on track to financially provide for myself. I've been a single parent for many years. I've taken jobs that are well below the standard of who I am as a human being, and I've sucked it up to provide for my child. Cared for a lot of people in my life, my grandmother, my auntie, my father after a separation. So, you know, you do what you can, but then you learn healthy boundaries and you learn about self-esteem and yes and no and forgiveness for the things maybe you failed at. And you keep going, but you've got to make that peace with it. Hi. And if you can't make peace with it, you know, they're not going to make peace with it for you. So if you've got some ego about it, that suddenly, if you had your twin flame come back and you were going to say, you did this, you did that, and you need to apologize. If I was your twin and I come to you, or anybody on this planet that mess with you, and I said sorry, you know that's not the end of it, right? Let's get real. So unless you can humbly just calm that and kind of gain some perspective on it, which is really important to understand, because we go through the third of ego to healthily make peace with that. But, you know, you go through the 7 stages of healing spiritually. You go through the anger, you go through the begging and the groveling, and maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that, and then it's, okay, well, why? And then you're looking at it from their point of view and then your point of view, feeling like a victim, feeling, you get what I'm saying. You've all been there in your life in some shape or form. And then you get tired, very Pisces energy. And that's where we got to in February, March. Too tired, can't do anything. Submarine has sunk. Okay, bye caramba, let me get food, water, and shelter. I need to rest. You release the ego. And that's with anything in life. You know, initially people will kick and scream. Change is always happening. When it does, and you're fighting like Abraham Hicks, it's like you're going down those rapids. You do realise you're going to get it to the bottom of those rapids. You're going to be like the bat out of hell, rowing backwards. Ultimately, universe is taking you down those rapids. That any which way they're going to get you, you're going down. But whatever goes up, goes down. Whatever goes down does come up. Laws of universe. So instead of fighting it, make your life so much easier and move into it. You're fighting your wounds. You're actually not fighting the past or the person anymore. You're fighting your wounds. You're fighting yourself. So be kind to yourself, for God's sakes. Sit with that energy. I actually, from a spiritual perspective, I can honestly say, I have cried so much that I physically started singing to myself. I cried to the point I would be like, okay, I'm looking outside of myself for that love, but have I loved myself? To the point I would say to myself, Yildiz, I love you. Yildiz, I love you for this pain, and it's okay. It wasn't your fault. It's going to be okay. You did not deserve that. It's not your fault. They didn't know. They did the best they could. You did the best you could. It is what it is. It's okay. You're going to make it through. And so I would train my self-talk. I'd really retrain my self-talk. Thanks, Antonella. And it's hard, you know, but you can do it. You will achieve it. But how you will feel on the other side of it, you will feel so much more peaceful because you did that yourself. And then it's codependent to think that that person's going to come and, you know, it's not even if we went to therapy. If we went to therapy, would the therapist do the work for us? Come on, think about it this way. Is your love interest or your twin or any person who shaded you, are they your therapist? No, they were your lesson at that time. Now, if you learn your lesson, you'll never repeat it, right? So each time you get triggered and you've got an ego and you're thinking, they need to fix this, they need to come correct, you be thinking to yourself, now, okay, are they your therapist? Because, you know, and if we became their rescuer, that is the same as being a therapist. Are you choosing to be in a relationship? And this is the hard part about relationships. Realizing that, yes, we were partaking in that, but when we weren't aware, due to the fact we were unaware about codependency, victim mentality, victim consciousness, perpetrator, etc., when you stop and you look at it, when you actually step back, now the things you know. The problem is 9 times out of 10 when we got the warning signs, after we're awake, not before, because before we didn't know. It was our conditioning that would made us accept things, but we probably wouldn't with other people, particularly only with one in which we gave a damn about. Not to say we didn't give a damn about other people, but on this particular occasion, particularly in twin flame groups, it tends to be more so. So with that energy, now that you know, when you go into it, the hardest responsibility is to get to a point where you can physically love that person, but always have to love yourself more. And it's not to say you don't actually love them equal, but to be able to say, this isn't okay for me, and that's okay. I still love you, but potentially this isn't okay for me. So maybe that does mean we're both on separate paths. And that is hard, but it is your responsibility. And it doesn't mean it's forever, but unless you can stick up for yourself, you can't. You don't want to be in a relationship where you are being a person's nurse. It's not your job. You're there to be an equal. And it's not to say at times you won't heal each other. That is actually part of relationships, the good and bad and ugly. So, certain channels will talk about the fact that they need to come correct. It's not real. We're in a humanistic world. We're not perfect. All of us have wounds. Yeah, a lot of work during Twin Flame journey, but, if you wanted the perfect picture, it doesn't exist. It honestly doesn't. You appreciate that person because you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it actually is more valuable because you have moved through hell and high water with that human being. But you have done that yourself as well. And so the art of appreciation is there. You value it because you have been to hell and back. And it's a bit like a traditional marriage. The good, the bad, and the ugly, right? It's up to them to acknowledge their path and you to choose yours. Yeah, but it's hard to get to that part. It takes a while. But you do get to that. It's spiritual evolution of that. And you do reach every person will reach that pivotal point, including masculines. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make a drink, but the art of appreciation is sometimes you don't know what you got till you let it go. But our ego tells us that if they don't hear from us, if they're, and this is the earliest stage of the journey with people. And that's why they have the 40-day no contact rule. Makes sense. The person knows who the devil you are, right? They don't need to be reminded who you are. If you're going to ring them 20 times, whoever you are, be it a twin flame or not, you're actually repulsing them. You're freaking them the heck out. If they appreciate you, give them some time to think about that. Okay, then you don't like this recipe. Okay, I'm going to go over here. I know this, and it can hurt, but you shift it on, and you will not want to chase another human being in your life because you know your worth, and you can't fight for something that it's. How do I put it? You're in a relationship and you feel you've got to fight for them. So is that you're saying that for the rest of your life, you want to be the male and the female and you're basically having a relationship on your own? Why on earth would you settle for that? Why would you settle for someone that does not want to fight for you? And it's not even fight for you. Be present. You know what I mean? So I found it incredibly, well, I wouldn't say liberating, relaxing. I was like, if this is meant to be, this person will come. And because they choose to, because we care for each other. Not because I've said he has to do X, Y, and Z. I want him to live his hopes and dreams. Always. And even if that doesn't mean me. But always, unconditionally. And that's even past people. Always. Does it hurt when they're not with you? 100%. But it hurts more to think you've held them there like a dog on a chain. That's not love. Why would you want that? Because then you're like, in the back of your mind, you're like, I kept you. That's very karmic. If you have to manipulate, play a chess game, try and do that. That's not love. If that person loved you, they'd be there. You don't have to fight for that. And that's what we need to relax into. And just because they're not making contact with you does not mean they don't love you. That's stupid too. This is what baffles me on the other side of this journey. Still on it technically. So you can say a person that has not showed up for you doesn't love you, then why the hell do you still love them? Anyone in the house, please answer that question to me. So you've basically answered your own dumb question, which I've done myself, Yildiz. And that's what I realised. I was like, so I was shading masculine energy. If they can, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, I do. And I ain't with them. I'm not being intimate. I'm not in a relationship with them. And that was back then. I do. And then you correlate that with if a person that you love passes over, you still love them too. Hurts more when they're not really present. Doesn't feel good for the soul. Well, it doesn't, but it does make the heart bigger. Sometimes they have to work through their trauma on their own. Synchronistically, when the masculine has trauma, the feminine at the same time will have trauma. I know, because I've been there. It is dual energy through the whole journey. When I sat there and wrote down what my ego felt he needed to heal, did you know there was an identical mirror as to what I needed to sort? I had beliefs about habits. I had a habit. I had beliefs about karmics and unhealthy boundaries. I had unhealthy boundaries with my daughter. There will synchronistically crap going on in your life that will completely mirror it, and you can't shade them if you're doing the same shit. You can't. So there's work, you know. I would be like, let go of the past. Yeah, I wasn't. From a safety net, I was like, oh my God, you know, what if I won't be okay? What if I'll be all alone out here? We've been alone since we were born. Okay, shit. And we're not. We've got each other. We've got so many people in the world, but we're so fixated on one tunnel. The thing is, your twin could die, man. You could. Any day, in your life, wherever. And it will happen one day. So if you can't handle it now and then have each moment you have with that person, you know, even right now, you guys aren't with them. Are you going to fixate on the fact that you're dirty, at the fact you've had no contact? Are you going to fixate on the fact that you hope they're safe, you hope they're grounded, and you hope they reach their happiness, whatever that be? That's where you should be. Bad time to be in that dirty, gnarly energy. Not good, man. It's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy because what you're doing is actually painting a toxic picture in your head that they don't give a crap about you. And why would that be real? If they didn't, they would have been toxic towards you and be, how do I put it? If it's been very sharp and you've gone your separate ways, it's because spiritually they were scared. Both Twin and I had people pass in our life. And, you know, when you have met someone that's incredibly important, you're like, wow, you know, this, how do I put it? This is so important. What if I lose you? They are awake, but their perspective of seeing things. Look at it this way. We have been masculine and feminine as females on this planet for centuries, right? Try and be a male in this world. It's a bit like being colour in this world and then coming to terms with it. My twin looked after his children, right? Yet in modern society, it's almost like a masculine feels shame connected to that it's demasculinized. You know, unless we're walking in their shoes, we have a lot of friggin' ego at the moment going on, stating they need to do this, they need to do that. If you want them to be a man, you need to stop being a man. Because the judgment energy is almost like we're being their father or their masculine energy. And I'm not, this is by no means shade. This is processes as a twin I have been through that I did myself. So I'm shading myself right now. Where when I stood back and I looked at it, I was like, you know, he wanted to make everyone happy. You know, sometimes we meet the right person and I cried about it today to my daughter, and I was saying to her, it's so bloody friggin' sad because you meet the right person at the wrong friggin' time, and then you could go off into a relationship, and then they could go off into a relationship. Children could be involved, and you don't want to hurt anyone. But you know, and it's not you had the intent that, oh, I'll be back later. It's like you, especially me, I didn't know I was a twin. I was just living my life, man. And a twin aside, it was I was living my life. There was no intent. Both him and I had no intent in any shape or form to hurt anyone. But the love, the heart wants what the heart wants. And when windows opened and, you know, energies come about, the soul, you have connections with many people in your life. They're going to be high and low in some shape or form. And obviously, the energy between us was very, very strong. But the thing is, when there are children involved, you know, how do you become two people? You can't turn time back, but you've got to make do with that. And karmics sometimes can have a great deal of energy because they're extremely codependent. They can cause a world of drama for you. If I told you half the energy of what I've gone through, those energies require restraining orders, mental health laws. You know, it's toxic. So it's devastating to have a person that you've got in your life and you're thinking you're the most beautiful soul, but it's damaged that person, man. You don't know what your twin's gone through. Some of it you will, yes. But just as you have had hurdles, you will not know the magnitude of the hurdles your human being has gone through. And some things he doesn't know what I've gone through. As we move into it, we open more and we articulate it. But this is with any person on the planet. We expect people to come correct. That's for the sake of us because we've got a wound. It's not their job to make your life perfect. That's your job to make it better. Your wound's going to be there. My daughter had that today. She says to me, don't talk about this because it triggers me. And I said, baby girl, I hate to break it to you. One day Mum won't be here and somebody's going to trigger you, and that's going to be you to deal with. Some people will go through a separation and a song will trigger them. And I call it desensitization. So I could not have children when I was younger. I was told I couldn't have children at 19. Every person around me was getting pregnant. And it would trigger the hell out of me, but I'd keep quiet, and I'd walk away and avoid it. The trigger's there. It needs to be dealt with. It's going to be with you forever. It is not the world's obligation to make your life perfect, because it's not, because inside you feel like you're in hell. So you need to find coping mechanisms, and you can't utilize a relationship to fix that as a coping mechanism. It is not their job. And then you're actually not physically having a relationship. You're trying to mold a person like Patty into a perfect being for you for the sake of the fact that somebody screwed you over. That's actually not their job. That's your problem. That was my problem. That's why I say many relationships in this modern day. And it's hard because I can tell you I've got a hell of a lot of triggers. I mean, heck, I looked at my astrology and I'm like, oh God, this is going to be interesting. If you've had, how would I put it? Probably from the age of, oh man, I'm not a victim, but I'm just saying, I've done anything from caring for hundreds of people's kids. There's been energies of toxic energies really doing horrible things to children, and I can't even tell you half my story. Sex, drugs, alcohol, some of the things I've seen at very square bare eyes, I cannot even articulate it. And this is just in my own life, what I've visually seen. Separations, separate to my own connections that have affected my siblings, co-parenting energies that become interesting, them being a modern day woman, being, you know, a person that's trying to be a very earthy mother as well as a masculine energy working a full-time job and getting criticized each side, and you're trying to do the best of both worlds. And trying to gain an income to provide for your child. It's hell. So, and masculines go through that too. You know, we're all wanting the white bloody picket fence. Even the men that say they don't want to settle down, it's only because they were shafted. It's not because they actually don't want that. Every human wants that in life. So, you know, but it's you'll find that because you've had that, and this is the beauty that I find in mine, you tend to be able to then look at it and go, do you know, I can be so honest with him. We can have a moment where I'll be like, blah, 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 and we can even candidly talk about it, which is beneficial for my daughter, that because we've seen so much in our life. We can go, look, this is the reality. I remember going clubbing because I had a very strict, upbringing. I went into a relationship when I was 19, got married, had an arranged marriage. Not that my family was religious, but it was like, I want you to have a good boy. And 5 years in that connection, bailed out. Didn't even know who I was. So I had to grow up very fast. And it was almost like I was just running into something to just get the heck out, to be my own humanistic energy. Bad mistake, but it happened. And the person was a beautiful human being, and I still have high regard for him. But it really did teach me a lot. It taught me a lot about finding myself. And there was a person that said to me, you don't even know who you are as a person. And I was like, that was back then. But you've got so many dreams, and 9 times out of 10 we're so busy running into relationships that it's like, what about your career? What about flatmating with girlfriends? What about traveling the world, or discovering, that beautiful energy of who you are inside? And that's for men and females. It's like we're so fixated on this beautiful story, or being with the lads, or being with the girls. And I'd gone clubbing one time after this relationship had gone pear-shaped, and I'd been single for a whole year because I was very traditional. And I remember one time being very disillusioned by going to the club, because I'd come from a European background and men were very romantic. Not that you could trust them, but romantic nevertheless. And one day I was in the club, and there was a guy that came up to me and he goes, can I ask you what you're doing? What are you thinking? And I just looked so disillusioned. I was looking at this club and I was like, these poor girls, because all the high schoolers had come out. They were in year 12, end of term sort of thing. And I said, the fresh mate. And it was disappointment. It wasn't from a point I was looking at them like, oh, the new girls are here. I was like, these poor females. And really poor males, because it's like we all are like thrown into the fish pond, having this delusional dream of what we're going towards, but we're all desperately seeking who we are. And they didn't know what they were in for, because how many parents were actually saying to them, takes a long time to know who you are. Don't jump in too early. Do you have some hopes and dreams? They're really important for you as a human being. They're your foundation. How many of us as parents tell our children that? We do when we've been wounded, but is that from a pain body experience? But from a humanistic experience, they weren't the priority, because tradition was, girl needs to grow up, needs to have a man, to get married, so she's safe because she can't provide for herself. So theoretically, when you look at that and you look at this modern age we're moving into, because of that conditioning that we're breaking, especially the nodes being in Cancer, we're not like our family anymore. We still have that conditioning we're breaking, but you need to come to a place where if you have not fulfilled your hopes and dreams, it's a bit like a boy turning into a man, going into a marriage, and then never having anything to experience in life, and that being enough. And 9 times out of 10, you'll find that the masculine, when he met you, that's what happened to him. So he met you, and he's like, I met the right girl at the wrong time. Oh crap, didn't even know she existed. I was so busy sowing my oats that suddenly I have met you, and oh crap, I'm actually not ready for it. I don't even know if I'm deserving. And women go through this too. So that's the importance of really investing in self. You've got to really know who you are as a person. And it takes time, and don't be angry at yourself with your healing. It's like you've almost got yourself on a clock watch. Got to win the race. Why haven't I healed yet? What's the bloody rush? Calm down. What if you are 50? What if you are 80? Are you not important? Is your healing time? Your healing time is a process. You have to live with you to the day you die. Happy birthday, Stefan. Twin was talking about moving to that age today, and my daughter goes, aren't you worried? And he's like, nah. I accidentally lived the 37th year like 5 times because I just stopped really looking at the, birthday date. Stefan, if I could, my beautiful friend, I would post you a birthday cake. Kat, are you going to sing happy birthday to Stefan? Yeah, so it's just about looking at these things. But if you have been triggered, it is why. Yeah. Oh, come on, Stefan. It's not that bad. You got it all going on. Look, life begins at 50, okay? It used to be 40. It's 50 now as far as I'm concerned. Sunscreen. So are there any interesting energies or any questions you want to ask me while I'm here? As I mentioned, this most bizarre ramble. I surely can, my love. What would you like to know, Steph? Before I go in, after my purge. Had the most interesting day. In between doing reading, I have been doing lives on Instagram and Facebook, so stay tuned, even though the technology on Facebook has changed. Perfect timing for encoding. Meanwhile, septic tanks and things to that degree were being delivered in between. Yes, you do, Dawn. Did ya? Oh, come on, we know it's there. Energetically, you won't even need to look at it anymore. You'll be spiking and peaking. You'll be like, calm your farm. You'll be looking at it going, okay, it's time to do my spiritual work, and it's breathing. But it usually means it's a purge, which technically, look at the... Okay, think about it. It's not Leo energy, but it's Aries. It's what we're fighting, and it's our pain body experience. It's Aries. I told you guys this. New moon in Aries. 8 years of Aries in Chiron. 8 years of your womb being reached. And this is what happens in twin flame union. You got a wound. Pick. So if you can't neutralize that, that's going to hurt. And after a while, it's like agitating it. That's Aries and Chiron for you. You create techniques to deal with that. Number 4 vibration year this year. Stop standing in your way. Don't allow it. So what happens? We had that energy of the new moon, which means, guess what, guys? Your responsibility to turn over a new leaf. And it's your masculine energy. It's the wounds connecting into that house. But it's also to do with any energetic triggers that are coming up to deal with it. So you can look at it from 2 perspectives. Collectively, it's first house placement. How is the world seeing you? How are you showing the world? How are you dealing with your wounds? And a secondary state, obviously in each zodiac sign there's a placement. My intuition says I'm being watched by someone. Yes, that energy is very high at the moment. Very, very high. Also, because we are actually having ascension symptoms, you will find that the realm is extremely thin, so you will maybe even be having nightmares, like really interesting, weird dreams. I've been having dreams of zombies, and I mean, I have dreams, but these are weird dreams. These can be morphing energies, where initially it can be one energy and it transfers into another. It's very, very bizarre energy. And then it can go to very, normal dreams, but we're in the 4D, we're in between. Very almost Neptunian energy. Yeah. Yeah, you tend to, just before union, you'll see the 1-400. You'll see 111, 444, 14441. You'll see units of that denotion, and it means you're in alignment. Hi, Justine. Yeah, I've been seeing UFOs. I've been seeing zombies. I mean, I had a dream. I woke up at 1:30. I think I mentioned that on the live the other day. And I walked through, and I'd been cross with my daughter because obviously not being at school, she's got weird. She's like a sundowner, waking up quite late. And I told her to go to bed, so I've gone off to bed. quickly felt into 4D. And I've dreamt, and I thought I was awake, that I've come to the front door and I'm saying to her, what are you doing? And she's taking washing into the laundry. And I'm going, what are you doing? Go to bed. And then the door's blowing open and it was pitch black outside. And the blankets were sprawled across the pergola there, which this is my outdoor section. It's my sloppy outdoor front section. And there was blankets kind of sprawled across. And on the pavement, the driveway, we've got a U-shaped driveway. My partner was kneeling with his yellow shirt on, and he looked at me and his arms were moving, and I was like, I've told him this, and he laughed. He thinks it's funny. Started moving, and I was like, what the hell? And I was like, that's not him. Who is that? But he was looking at the house, and it was pitch black, and then he turned and looked at me, and then he changed. He was someone else, and he jumped up, and he started moving towards me like a zombie, and I've just flung the door closed. And then the next thing you know, he's next to me. And he goes, oh, I'm going to work. Because he goes at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because he's a truck driver. I went, no, don't go there. Don't look out the hole. Look out the hole. Don't go out there. And he's like, it'll be fine. And he's very masculine. So he's opened the door. And it's come in the house and stood over him. And I was like, very similar to a spiritual attack. I was like, go. And it moved out and I slammed the door. So again, be really mindful of these energies because it's the subconscious mind, because when we're moving into negativity, you're actually opening that portal up. So you've got to really close that down. Limit your technology energy, especially when it comes to the pandemic-related dynamics, because it is linking in with, wow, this is an apocalypse kind of doomsday. And, of course, what do we go to? The Walking Dead. You know, you correlate in with some energy that's happened in. Or Outbreak, any of those movies. Oh, geez. Yes, but it's interesting times. I mean, I'm so behind on that. I used to watch this religiously. No one would mess with me. It's like I'm watching The Walking Dead. Don't be coming at me. Leave me be. Probably because I lived on a farm. It's like, you know, I was all into survival mode. Bear Grylls style. Wanted to go to the army. 28 days. I told my daughter about that. I said I said in these days, 28 days. I said to her, if we went into a shopping centre, I said they were coming in and they were coming to get us. And I said during this time it probably wouldn't work because somebody would have sneezed on some food. But again, it's like, you know, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, man. Have faith. Like, do the best you can. The thing is, in Perth, Western Australia, most of us suffer from asthma. Many, right? I get allergies. I'm actually on a property that has wood chip. So I get allergies regardless. So if you hear me coughing, there's wood chip on the property. And then we're moving into winter. I never leave the house. I'm always at home. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. I mean, I've pretty much been in hermit mode for 4 years. Yeah, we did talk a lot of different subjects. We went anywhere to UFOs, to developing your psychic energy, to ways you can deal with your wounds with twin flame, what union is going to be like. What is the union going to be like? How can I describe it? You have a deep feeling that you're like, oh, first you come to a peaceful place prior. Then when you reach the point, you're like, I'm home. Because you've released the ego, you're no longer running, you're like, because it feels calm in the energy. But the triggers do come up. So it can be anything to the degree of certain people. It can also be, and it's not the location, it's the connection. It's you and then the connection. It's like, because you're tired, you're like, this has been a long road, man. Okay, are we finished yet? Technically yes, technically no. But the triggers come up. No, this is within it. This is when you're there, when you've made communication, when you're talking, you know, when you're having that link. It's you're like, oh, okay, this is, you're like, it's like this energetic commitment of, yes, we're going to move forward. You do find there's a late energies of complete hone, and then complete I'm freaking the heck out, I want to run 10, but you find you can't. Something in that contract energetically holds you there to achieve those targets on that occasion. You don't know why. You're like, it literally feels like a DNA cord. And no matter which way you go, neither one of you can go anywhere. It's almost like universe is keeping you together. And it's like putting you not in the naughty corner anymore, in the naughty corner together, like you're being bad partners. And deal with it. It's like two bluing teenagers. So you work through these things. You develop communication. You talk about the pain. You then have moments of just being yourselves. And you just keep moving forward. But there's various things. There's definitely triggers with karmics. Instead of it being one, it's what, 50? They come out of the woodworks, trust me, and it's on both sides of the fence. And you're like, what? No sooner do you see it, acknowledge it, deal with it, and you're living in that vibration, do you get so tired, similar to purging, that you release, and then within 24 hours it moves? Because you're moving in that energy. You're shifting that energy. Yeah. It's hard work. It's hard work. It's not fun. My mother asked me last night if I was... I have been, yes. Very oddly. Like grids. Like, a bit like on the Matrix. A song for you. Butterfly kisses. Something to do with your dad. You need to make contact with your dad. Song for me tonight, please. Dancing and sweating out my triggers. You need to call your dad, Antonella. Connect. And it's healthy also. It's healthy from a perspective of being open. Good. And how did that go? Were you open? Did it balance you? Because again, you know, opening up to a masculine is also opening up to a male energy. Anyone. Am I haunting you with the 10-10s, or is it anywhere in general? Hi, Dale. So I hope it went well with your dad anyway. He has a good vibration. He feels a bit melancholy, actually. I think he appreciated the conversation. Even if he had Budgie on his shoulder. I'm being unpolite. You get my drift, Antonella. And if your mum's listening, she's probably laughing. Hi, Ma. Yeah, there is. You'll probably find more so as the nodes shift, because we're going to have the eclipse in Cancer again. Well, that's going to be fun. Like I said, I just want to get a bloody seatbelt for this year. Oh, we're going to have Mars retrograde. We're going to have Venus going shadow by mid-month. Pluto then going retrograde in Aquarius, which means a few cracks in the system if we haven't already seen them, really profoundly so. The Jupiter aspects does bring about financial growth, even if you don't feel it's possible. This creativity that's coming up is going to help it. Yeah, you can never say never, because everything changes. Like, it's just... Where are you going to be in 10 years' time? You don't know. Definitely where you are now? No. No. Look back. And sometimes this is where looking back's healthy. Because you look back and you go, well, I'm doing different things than I was years ago. So, no, I'm not going to be in the same boat. You can have a few more wrinkles, maybe some more grey hairs, maybe some more interesting good and bad stories to tell. And you would have made it through some good and bad situations. So... it's inevitable, right? It's part of life. And you will survive. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. As we all do. And back has been hurting big time because Saturn connects to bones. So the latest is Twin decided to say that he would like to go in the truck and go full-time working away. And so it's interesting because I had a premonition he would do such. And apparently he wishes my YouTube channel to go on the road, and my daughter got a bit triggered. Hey, Shanice. I love you. How much? Do you want me to sing you the Bee Gees song, How Deep Is Your Love? And she's like, please no, Mum. Yeah, I was doing YMCA. I will survive. Yeah. 8-Ball. Oh my God, that's his favourite. Can I dig a hole and come out? I said that to him. I said, can you just dig the sandpit up, chuck me under it? But then, I've got things to do, so now and then it's nice to have a chat with you guys. We've got a lot to build. If we understand that we're moving into a technological world, and then we all go off the grid, it's a bit like, I don't like this business, so I'm not doing it. Years ago when we did the nursing, they had a unique system where we would sign paperwork when we would get there. They would then get us to sign out. They would also do the energy, and then they turned it into the computers doing everything. And they were watching wherever we went. They were checking us. Can you close the door, Shanice, so I don't get a super chat? Demonetization for your lyrics. I'm not going there. No, thank you. So technology was moving. So what? Leave the job or keep the job and move forward. It's a reality, right? Everyone is so chatty when you talk to people. We're having a virtual catch up, yeah. Hey, if I could join you in the bunker, I'd be happy, and then we could just all come back up. We could talk about what's going on with the collective down there. But then we'd probably be all talking about it and dealing with it down there anyway. So yes, YouTube on the road in a truck, anyone? I said to him, you don't even want to go on YouTube. I'd so shove him on the camera. The only time I could get him on the camera is if he had a few. He's a very unique man. He's very shy. I've said to him, look, he would motivate people, but he is very, very private. Yeah, it did trigger my daughter, though. She was like, what are you going to do with me? And I'm like, calm down, calm down. But anyway, I have done a live on Instagram, so it is still there. So I've talked about, a lot of the astrological aspects, some of the things and themes that can be coming through. I've also done a live on Facebook, and they're all different, which I have started a schedule, which I'm creating it to the point that I can pick a set day, and you will know a rough idea of when certain things are happening. So be it I'm scheduling and I'm giving you the update the week before to 2 weeks before, you'll get the notification, you'll know where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing on each channel, and I'll bounce through in all mediums to touch base with you, but it'll all be different on different platforms. And I will soon, I need to get the encoder for the website. I will do private sessions, so it can be similar to this, but we can be asking questions, and it's more similar to the join button on YouTube, which I already do have. I haven't activated. I've had it there for about 6 months, where I can have the private sessions there. So if we meet 3 to 4 times a month, which I'll set the terms before there will be any subscription. We've then got that chat room, and we can set the times and days, and if you can't afford a full-blown reading and you can afford the slight subscription, you can jump in and we can talk, and you can ask questions and talk privately about some of the things that have been going on. Because sometimes in multimedia, you know, we don't talk as candidly because we don't want those energies shared, especially soon as I know the karmics watch my channel. I will be a whole lot more candid about some of the things that I went through, but that's what I share with my clientele. So that, you know, as much as I can share a lot of toxicity I've been through, I'm very cautious about what I say here for the integrity of, obviously, people that have been involved with me. And it's integrity. There's certain things you can say, but unless it was coming from his mouth, I've got integrity. It's just not the way I am. Have we experienced interesting in it? Yeah, we have, big time. We're in a real world. This is the reality. But yes, a lot of what you guys have experienced, I have, and probably then some. I do know for the private clients I've talked to, I've probably opened their eyes quite a bit about what I've gone through. Some have gone through similar things to me. Probably not as, yeah, I'd probably say not as bad. I'm like, my partner's notion is go hard or go home. It's like go all in, walk into the fire, or don't have any at all. So yeah, we do everything large. I don't know if that's good, but it is what it is. What is the time? We've been on here rambling for hours. It's 9 o'clock. We've been on here for 2.5 hours. Talking. What have we talked about? Aliens, spiritual attack, twin flame union, ascension symptoms, washing your hands, techniques you can use, farming. So my father said I could talk. I would drive a nun crazy, he said. And then I looked after a beautiful lady that was religious, and she said to me, "You're just like Mother Teresa." And I was like, wow, what a humbling comment. So my father thought I would drive a nun crazy, and she thought I was Mother Teresa. So I was like, I'll go 50-50. I think that's pretty fair. Anyway, I better love you and leave you. I better go check my twin. Yeah, wash your hands, and in between, if you don't want your hands to dry, use some sorbeline cream, and you can put it under the water as well and dry it out. With a car in tow, yeah. Yeah, well, he drives trucks, so it'll be on a highway to hell. I said to him, you just can't help yourself, can you? You got that red dirt in your skin. Did you know about the gateway portal opening 444? Communication will come in, but more movement will happen in May. I think it'll be more healing wounds. I think it'll be more reconnections from May onwards, because the nodes are changing. Anyone who's stuck in a karmic connection, which I'll be bloody surprised by the time we have the eclipse in Cancer and Capricorn, and especially with this Hermit mode energy, if they're not happy where they are, this is really going to show it. Could you imagine being stuck with someone that drives you crazy? I would be climbing up the friggin' wall. I'd be hoping for the pandemic. I'd be like, I'm not happy here. That would exhaust me. Stuff that. You do what makes you happy in life. You can only live in a toxic environment so long. And, you know, just send... peaceful, get peaceful, be peaceful. That's my best suggestion with anything in life, is get to a place you find peace. You know, and have compassion. Don't be mad. Don't be salty. If you be salty, that's not love. Yeah, and you are in love. You just hurt. That's all. Acknowledge the hurt. It's a better state to be than acknowledging the hurt than being shady, because you're actually not shady. You're not a bad person. You're hurt, that's all. Can we get a live? Can we get a real live male perspective? Well, most of what I share for you guys is my twin said he did not feel deserving of me. Oh yeah, we're so friggin' similar. Like, yeah, but I will introduce you at some point. And I'll try and get the questions done, and I'll record them, and I'll ask them privately. And I do have a few males I'm coaching at the moment. I can give you theirs. Yeah, but it's something to do with the integration they go through, and they're going through that now, so it will heal. Anyway, I'm going to love you and light you, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.